When I think about things I want to post, I want to post cool stuff, slick stuff, neat stuff. But most of the stuff I'm going to post is going to be raw stuff like this. This is just who I am.
Keep coming back to the same thoughts, the same feelings, the feelings that engender the thoughts, the situations that engender the feelings that engender the thoughts, the feeling that I'd be better off not seeking, not striving, not wanting, not needing, because everything gets so much thoroughly fucking worse when all of those things are in play. I've just been in utter turmoil for weeks now because of this. It's even more like a month now, more than a month at this point. And it's gonna break at some point. It has to. This can't be sustained. It can't be sustained. I don't like this at all. It's why I've avoided this sort of thing for so long. I know better than this. I just need to find a way to let go. But I don't want to let go. That's the problem. I want something out of the something that I cannot get. Out of this life, out of this experience. Things that maybe other people seem to get. But that's just the thing, right? The things that seem to be attained. And in all likelihood, the internal experience of such is still one of such poverty. I seem to have found things in my past that were more fulfilling, that were somehow at a remove from this, I guess what we could most simply call the hedonic treadmill. But for whatever reason, at this point in time, I can't find what I once did in that space. For whatever reason, I decided to hop back on the treadmill and try and feverishly snatch at that carrot that is always just out of reach. And part of me, that's a very large part of me, recognizes this, the foolishness of such, but another part of me wants to experience the foolishness of this. Maybe it's the same part that is aware, is the same part that wants to experience the emotions, the drama, the story of this futility. it seeks that. It desires that. That's what's really desired. The drama. On some level, yeah, this is entirely true. And I've speculated before that this is a large part of what motivates a great many people's actions. Why people get stuck in addictive patterns, addictive cycles of behavior, or just general cycles of behavior that are toxic and are deleterious to the individual. Seemingly, yeah. Outwardly, very much so, but simultaneously, some part of them is being deeply nourished by this conflict. It's the part of themselves, of ourselves, of myself, I would say, that recognizes something or abides in a vantage point that is able to it's at a distance from experience. It's more of a absolute position, and it sees that none of this is really for real, that all of it is just a game in some way. And since all of it's just a game, and there's nothing really to be accomplished in any meaningful way, there's nothing really to be done, all that's left to do is just to find different ways of amusing ourselves, amusing myself, and the ways in which I might amuse myself may be very dark and painful, but given that in an absolute sense it's all just, none of it's really for real, none of it really counts, that it's just a dream of sorts. Why not? Why not experience the drama of it? It's certainly incredibly captivating, right? Certainly occupies the time. Certainly keeps one invested. The trick then, if this is the case, I would say, is to not grip too tightly. To, even in the seriousness, recognize how unserious it is. But yeah, that's not so easy. And the second best thing, I suppose, is to just walk away from it, even if there are consequences to doing such. Find a better drama to embroil oneself within. A different dream. It's this dissonance within me, and it has been for the longest time. I mean, I've spoken about kind of conflicting things here on this channel in these recordings, and yeah, the conflict, the dissonance is between, on the one hand, seeing the seriousness of, or perceiving that this is all a very serious, consequential affair that we're engaged in here, this business of living, and on the other hand, perceiving it as a kind of joke, a game, a big fat nothing, just a dream, just Leela, play, and it's always kind of weighing on my mind. And I can occupy a particular position, one of these two positions, for a period of time. And unfortunately, because I'm a very impulsive person, apparently, I will, on the basis of, whatever position I'm occupying at the time, I may get ideas into my head to do particular things, and I will take on things that, were I to be occupying the counter position, I would never think of doing in a million years. And again, I know I'm speaking incredibly vaguely here, but that's kind of what's been happening to me. Impulsive decisions made on the basis of these shifting kind of shifting emotional states that find their, I don't know, fit into either one of the two boxes, one of the two positions that I've outlined, and I make impulsive decisions from one of those places. And the problem is that everything changes. My feelings, my emotions, my situations change, and then so does my entire worldview. And then, of course, the worldview's changed, and the world that I've built for myself upon the basis of a worldview that no longer exists, that I no longer feel is compatible with me, then I have to change my world to fit the new worldview. And then, of course, you can guess what happens next. And this is kind of a recurrent cycle in my life. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And like with so much else, you would think I would learn the lesson, but that would be too easy. Learning a lesson and making adjustments in accordance with such. And I have tried in some ways, but it hasn't worked. I mean, there have been minor improvements, but nothing that's really kind of prevented me from fucking going down again into shit creek, as I have done so many fucking times before. It's really no way to live, to be honest. But, it is the way things are for me. And so, I guess I'll continue having to deal with this until I cease to have to continue dealing with this for whatever reason, whether it be by providence or my own hand. The latter of which is quite unlikely, I should say. I'm not, I don't seem to be so inclined, to be completely honest. Fortunately or unfortunately, you might say, depending on, yeah, I don't know what kind of person you are, what kind of beliefs you hold, what you've been conditioned to believe is the correct response to someone who's expressing such bleak, anti-life rhetoric. I always think it's kind of funny. It's not funny, but I'm just a turn of phrase, you know what I mean. Or maybe you don't. But nonetheless, I always find it kind of remarkable, we should say, remarkable that I lost my train of thought. I always find it kind of remarkable that people can, I guess, quote unquote suicidal people. I'm not saying I'm suicidal, just kind of indulging in a little bit of suicidal ideation, on a Sunday evening. But people who are suicidal or engaging in suicidal ideation, we almost unanimously, people, myself included, right? I'm quote unquote guilty of this also. Just trying to talk people off the ledge, right? Get them down off the ledge, get them back into the world of the living. Even though perhaps this has certainly been my experience, that what am I getting them down off the ledge for, really? I mean, I'll just make this about myself, right? So let's say someone was speaking to me now, or I was myself speaking to me, right? Someone was saying the things I was saying, and I was communicating with them. So what would I say to them, or what would I be thinking rather, as I was telling them to, find some hope, or trying to give them some hope or whatever? I would be thinking in my mind that at least partially, that there isn't really anything for you to be doing here. There isn't, I don't know, as far as I can tell, a necessity for you to go on living. The only reason perhaps that you should go on living is it's going to cause, well, number one, it's very unpleasant that someone would have to do that to themselves. And, number two, it's going to cause a wave of suffering out into the sort of social environment, whatever. The people that this person would know, it would very heavily impact them. And just in general, suicide is not a very particularly nice thing, but of course ultimately for the person that's bearing the weight of the suffering, their suffering is at least at face value, right, has come to an end. So it would seem to a external party, at least, right? Someone that's remained within the world of the living. It may, of course, very well be the case that their suffering has not ceased, that it's just continuing somewhere else that we can not see. But for themselves, they very much can see and feel it. Just speculation, of course, but well, I don't even know what I was, why I got onto that, but yeah, just a little ramble, I suppose. And, yeah, that'll do for now.